In construction, why is it really important for the construction industry to behave ethically? Simply because it is not ethical. It is not ethical at all. We need at least to reach to minimum standards of ethical behaviors. The whole industry is not doing well with regard to ethics. So we need to regulate the areas where it is really gray and there is no regulation governing the way how tenders are being approached, how clients are approaching the payments of contractors, what are the relationships between the parties. So we need to maximize profits on the long run. We said before that if we talk about it on a long run situation, the profit will be maximized because now those contractors who are competing and trying to be low bidding just to get the projects and later on they get collapsed, we need to prevent that, because if you prevent that on the long term, many other competitors will not need to go so much down in the price to get the job. And this means profitability, and the clients will pay for the actual and real prices. So we will cover two things. We'll cover dispute resolution and tendering, and I'll show you some examples how things may go wrong in these areas. So there are certain codes that are available now on national level, and we will talk about them as well. So we don't have faith in the construction industry. I don't really have faith in builders and how they work. Subcontractors, I don't have faith as an individual. So what about companies? What about big developers? They don't have faith in the tendering process. They don't think that the claim which was submitted by the contractor is reflecting the actual expenses of that contractor. They always feel that the payment itself is exaggerated, the variation is exaggerated, and so on. In general, we talk about conflict of interest. It's one of the most important things that we need to take care of. Whether we talk about the context of the firm, construction firm, or its relationships with others. Now, what's happening now? We have an employer who is appointing the designer or the superintendent. And the superintendent, he is paid by the employer. But his function is to deal with the payment claims of the contractor. So if the contractor is making a payment claim saying, for example, that I make this claim because the design is defective, and who's the party who's going to look at that claim? Is a designer who has done this defect. So it's an obvious conflict of interest. How come that the contract itself says that superintendent can look into these claims? So the arrangement is really flawed, doesn't work. The industry itself has a problem with regard to the way how the relationships are being regulated. So we have so many examples of conflict of interest, but mainly with regard to the role of superintendent, who is paid by the employer, and he is required to be fair and impartial. He can never be. There are so many situations where I have faced it myself. Confidentiality issues. So just to give you one by one example. So with regard to conflict of interest, you know, in Australia, in Queensland, last in 2014, they made major reform in security of payment legislation. They said that the appointing authorities of adjudicators are claimant friendly. They are always appointed by claimants, so they wanted to please claimants. That's why they were issuing decisions which are really claimant friendly. They were giving contractors whatever they want. And there was a major concern by the industry, by master developers. What's happening? You know, that we need to stop this. So what the government has done, they abolished the appointing authorities, the private appointing authorities, because they are for-profit companies. And what they said, they replaced that with a governmental body that is appointing adjudicators. But what is going to happen if the government itself is party to adjudication later on? It is again conflict of interest. It's the same problem. So they try to resolve something and they get into another problem later on. So it is another problem. So think about it this way. Clients, for example, when they deal with the contractors, late payments, and how it affects the relationships, because the contractor wants to maximize his profit and the contractor wants to survive. So they are completely different interests, and how we can make sure that they are working in a project. That's why partnering and PPP and all these integration and collaborative procurement systems are being advocated now. So if you work for an employer, for example, one of the things that you will face is that they will always prioritize the people that they know, whether they are contractors or they are friends or they have sister companies, or some of the directors of that client has shareholders in that company. So it is something that is there, and no one has done anything to stop it. Confidentiality issues. Just to put you in the context, if you are working for an employer or a contractor, you will be, especially if we talk about big contractors, you will be required to sign a confidentiality agreement that you cannot disclose information. Even if you are terminated, this confidentiality agreement will survive termination. You cannot disclose anything after 5 years. So if you are working now with a builder, and after 5 years you quit, and then you join an employer or a consultant, you cannot disclose what you have done with the contractor. You cannot say anything. So when we talk about confidentiality, tendering information, you can disclose it to some people. Some of your friends working, with other competitors like tenderers, and you are the employer, they are trying to chat with you and taking some information. So in business, there are no friendships in business, and I think on the long run you will understand that there is no friendship in business. You can make friends like very good and compassionate way of dealing with people, but friendships should not be there when we talk about business and confidentiality issues, because for sure you will be in breach of your confidentiality, because you can disclose information which should not be disclosed. Now, RICS. If you are a contract administrator, for example, you should join RICS. So if you want to join RICS, there is a code of ethics that you must understand. So they ask you to go for a quiz. If you want to have a professional membership, I did that quiz before. To be an adjudicator working for RICS, I did a major quiz. And you have to read and go for a module, and then you go for an exam. And that exam is really tough. It puts you in situations which are really critical. You cannot easily judge whether you will do the right thing or not. So you can do that free of charge now. At this point of time, you can just log and go for the free ethics quiz, just to know where you are, if you are working in the industry or you want to know how it works. So environmental issues. I dealt with many contractors who didn't ever think about sustainability. So they were dumping, the debris materials anywhere, any area, any landfill, whether it is regulated or not regulated. They didn't have any clue whether this situation is ethical or unethical, because there is law governing that, but the ethical behavior is not existing. So no one will see the drivers of these trucks going and dumping materials in an appropriate way. So unless the company itself, the builders, are endorsing a culture that promotes ethical behaviors or code of conduct, you will always end up in situations like that. Collusive tendering. So it's something about conspiracy, that you disclose information, you try to have a chat with some other competitors, for you to cheat the employer. It is always about compromising the value for money that the employer is going to get. I think you know about bribery. So bribery could be anything. It could be cash, it could be gifts, it could be entertainment, it could be anything. So the suppliers all the time try to manipulate you, try to persuade you in a way or another to accept them for the project, and they get the job. So you don't know how difficult it is. If you are put in a situation that you are accepting a gift, later on it is difficult for you to reject this supplier. You will find a way to put them in this project, because you have been put in that place. You accepted the gift. So don't ever accept any gift. Just be all the time consistent, objective. Don't accept any gift for reason or no reason, even if it is a very simple gift. Unless it is given to everyone. It is given to the contractors, subcontractors, suppliers, everyone. If everyone is getting the same gift, this means that you are not the special one. They don't need anything from your side. That the calendar, for example. If they send to everyone, subcontractors, suppliers, everyone is getting the same gift, I don't feel that it has any issue, because you were not put in that situation. I'll give you another example. In RICS exam, when you do the quiz, you will be asked, for example, you will be put in a situation like, okay, you have done a job for a client. Okay, you have done a job for a client, and you are representing the company. And once the job is done, it's over. The client has appreciated your effort, and he sent you a very prestigious watch. You just by mail with thank you letter. You are done with the project, and you got that gift. Will you accept that gift? The client, it is like, the developer, and you are working as a surveyor, consultant, and the job is over, and it is appreciation that you have done a good job. So will you accept that gift? You should not, because that client is going to see you later on. And why he has sent you that gift? You are not working alone for the company. There is a major process. We have colleagues. You are not working alone. If you were not employed by this company, you would never get this gift. So always look at the big picture. You cannot accept gifts, and what you can do is just saying that I acknowledge receiving the gift, and I have sent it to the department or whatever department that you talk about, and thank you very much, and it is appreciated. Always think about consequences of your decision. What will be the consequences? So this gift should be recorded in the system, and you should declare it. Any gift you get, you must declare it. Yes, the client may get offended, but it depends on the way how you will respond back. On the long run, he will really understand that where you are coming from when you reject it. You will not reject it. You will just accept it, but you will say that you will not retain it. You will give it to the company itself, because the company, the corporate which is employing you, is the one deserving this gift, not you. Frauding. I think all of you know frauding, okay? But you don't know something about Phoenix. Have you heard about Phoenix activities? Okay, I'll show you something.
Phoenix activity costs the Australian economy up to $3.2 billion a year, including up to $2 billion for businesses in unpaid debts and in goods and services paid for but not provided. So what exactly is it? Well, Phoenix activity occurs when a company is deliberately placed into liquidation to avoid paying its creditors, its staff entitlements, taxes, and in some cases to avoid honouring its warranty obligations. The assets of the company are transferred to a new entity, which continues operating under the same or similar business name. This underhanded activity has huge repercussions. Projects get delayed, costs increase, unscrupulous business operators gain an unfair advantage, all at the expense of employees, suppliers and contractors who can lose out on wages, on superannuation fees and other entitlements. In addition, the community incurs a loss of the revenue that funds our schools, our hospitals and roads, increasing monitoring costs and requiring government to pay staff entitlements. To help make it a level playing field, report suspected Phoenix activity and find out more at ato.gov.au/Phoenix.
So it's really disgusting that many companies are doing that. Many businesses, especially in construction. Construction, you get so many people doing this. Sometimes it's really difficult for you to know whether this is a Phoenix activity or not. So if it is something intentional, it is Phoenix activity. But sometimes it is unintentional, like you just transfer your assets from place to place without knowing that you will be collapsing. So it needs further investigation. It's not easy to judge. So it depends on the intention, your ethics, whether you are ethical enough or not. So it's always about ethics, and the law is there to make sure that if it is gray, no, we want to make it black and white. Negligence. It is always about the failure of the professional to have a duty of care regarding his duty. For example, if you work as a quantity surveyor and you are accepting the job and you don't do your job properly and causing losses to your employer, you can be sued. You can be exposed to so many penalties for professional negligence. Even if you are an employee, you can be sued. If you think that you are protected by the employer, no, you can be sued. Anyone can sue you. So you need to be careful about negligence. It is something which is talking about ethics. Don't ever accept a job and you feel that you cannot do it because of your competences, because you are working under time pressure and you cannot do it properly because you have some other commitments. Always think about what you are doing. Always think about it. Dishonesty and unfairness. As I don't know who has said about unfairness today, but this is the most important topic. This is the most difficult topic for anyone to handle, unfairness and dishonesty. So we have 4 parts. We have public sector, and we have contractors, we have consultants, and we have private clients. Nowadays, for example, the government is announcing that the lowest bidder is not going to get the job. It is not necessarily the lowest bidder. We talk about equality. But at the end of the day, all governmental departments are giving the job to the lowest bidder, regardless of the quality and competences. This is one of the issues regarding unfairness, because you should not give, if you are announcing that this will be given to those who are complying with equality measures, you should not give it to the lowest bidder then. Why you are giving it to the lowest bidders? Sometimes the government itself has a business branch, And that business branch is tendering for the governmental work. So for sure they will be prioritized with regard to having the jobs in order for them to run the business. So it's completely unfair and unethical. Okay, private clients. So I told you something about security of payment today, that many clients, now who's the client? It could be the one who's having the cash, who's initiating the project, or it could be the builder, and subcontractor is the contractor, right? It depends. The one who's paying the money is the client, always. The one who's paying the money. So if you work for a tendering department, it's very sensitive. You need to educate yourself in so many aspects. Shopping prices, you know shopping. You are just shopping between the people and try to persuade them to give you the best offer. That's why we have so many insolvencies, because it is very competitive and everyone wants to get the job, and they will try to go down as much as possible. Delaying tactics, we covered that today in the seminar, and many clients don't pay on time. I said something about consultants, the agent theory. Any professional working for the client, is he loyal to the client paying him, or he's loyal to the profession? Okay, this is a major question. So consultants are professional people, and they should always be loyal to the profession, not to the client. Regardless who's paying me, I have to be impartial and objective. But this is not happening. This is not happening. Many consultants are deducting from the payment claims, from the interim payments, because they think that the contractor is exaggerating and they want to please the employer. And this is happening all the time. I have seen it myself many times. And it doesn't work because we have this conflicting rule. The contractors are bidding in a very competitive environment, and that's why many contractors, especially here in Australia, are giving you prices which are not really prices. They are much below the actual cost. And they think that over the project period, they will be able to get compensation, they will make some variations and make sure that they will get paid. Do you know what front loading is? You know what's happening? Now, we start always with the substructure, right? Then superstructure. And you get the job. The bill of quantity addresses everything. But what you have done in that job, it is lump sum job, but what you have done, because you want to get paid more at an early stage in the project, you put an exaggerated rate for the concrete prices, the rate of concrete. For example, if it should be 1,000, you put 2,000. It is not fair. It is not honest, because the employer will be paying you much more than you worth. If you get bankrupt, if the contract is terminated for any reason, you would have been paid much more than your actual dues. So the employer will be left dark. He cannot finish the project with other people. So this is the front loading. You need to know about it. Claim-oriented contractors. It is legal, very legal, but it is unethical. You could think that this is the right way to do for your client, but always think about being honest and being fair. It's a difficult thing to do, but in the long run, you will be happy with yourself and will be satisfied. Exaggeration. All contractors are exaggerating. In any interim payment, in any variation, in any claim, they always think that they cannot trust the consultant because they will cut costs. So let us give them another 1 million in the payment claim, so they will cut it and we'll get our dues. So it is always exaggerated because of the mistrust. There is no trust in the industry.